So it's the evening after the night before, and yes, I woke up and Forest still had lost to Everton. But this is 18 rated, so you've been warned. Welcome to Grumpy Old Reds. Ladies and girls in the chat, hope you're well, hope you're ready for this. This is going to be my therapy session, listening to what you boys have to say. Guys in the chat, hope you're well. And we've got Arctic Fox with us as well. How are you, Rob?
I'm still recovering like the rest of you.
Still in morning. But we're just going to jump straight into it. As always, don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already and subscribe if you're new. We're only 3 away from 15.1k, so thank you all. We're just going to look, people are going to be probably getting stuff on their chest. We're probably going to end up in arguments. Ez may call someone the C word at some point. Who knows? Who knows?
It's been known.
I definitely will.
Yeah. All right, Ez, why don't we kick off with you, bro? Talk us through how you feeling about yesterday's amazing performance.
Well, I was one of the lucky ones who was down there freezing my balls off at the City ground. I sat next to Ant and Nathan. And you know what? First thing that struck me, first thing that actually annoyed me a little bit was the lineup when I saw that. Because I didn't and I don't know if the questions have been asked. I've been trying to look back over his post-match conferences and why was he asked a question why Aina didn't start? Was he asked a question why Niakate didn't start? Because
you mean from Colin? From Colin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah. No, Colin wouldn't ask.
Do I need to answer that question?
Well, it was rhetorical. It was rhetorical. So no, you don't need to answer that. And this is systematic of what I'm kind of going to really rant about today, because what I want to see more than anything else is this freaking cult broken. That's what I want, because I've never seen anything like it. I've been a Nottingham Forest supporter for nearly 40 years now, and we've had Brian Clough, Frank Clark are the top two under my, but they never had even a great man, and he would have deserved it more than anybody else. Didn't get the kind of cultish following that Steve Cooper seems to have attracted over the last couple of years. And it's like, you can't say anything negative about what we've been seeing. And I'm sick of it, mate. And I'm kind of glad I got it off my chest in the last stream and said what I did say. And I think what I saw last night backed up what I was feeling. And it's not only has it not changed how I'm feeling about what we should be doing with our manager, because no black and white here, Cooper out. There's no grey areas with me, Cooper out for me. We need something to change. And if people are harking back to our championship days when we were manager in, manager out, what were we doing in those days? We were trying to find somebody who could get us out of that poxy league. And it seems there's a lot of sentimental Forest fans, and we will get into it. But there also seems to be a sentiment about the championship. It's like they want to be back there, as if we were any good there. You know, we were one of the worst teams in the championship. But we had the odd lucky season, and then we had a shit season, and then we had a decent season. But if we're looking for a manager now, we're going to be looking for a higher level of manager, because we want to be at that higher level. And I'm just sick of settling. We talked about this earlier on in the season. I asked Ant the question, are we settling for mediocrity? And he says, it seems like it. And it does seem like it. And I think that's what we've done. And if I carry on ranting, I won't let anybody else get a word in. But I do want to say the lineup pissed me off yesterday. The way we set up pissed me off yesterday, because I knew what was coming. And it's like he didn't. And the way there's no manager in the league who's watched us more than Dash. He's there every week. Whenever he gets a chance, he's down there. So he knows how we play better than anybody else. And if Cooper couldn't read that, couldn't anticipate what was coming, then he's short-sighted. 2, he's always blaming something else, everything else other than his decisions on the pitch. And I'm sick of him not being held to account, and I'm going to hold him to account, because it's not good enough, mate. There's sentiment, and the sentiment seems to override common sense nowadays, and that's what I want to call out. People have some common sense. We are awful. 1 win in 10. 1 win in 10. We are awful. No other manager would survive this. And why is he surviving it? Purely because he's created this cult, and he thinks that's going to save him. It'll only save you for so long, mate. I think your time's up, but I'm going to pass it on to somebody else, guys. Otherwise, I'll run.
Let's bring Rob in next, Rob, because I've specifically asked you on here to be the voice of reason, I guess. But I feel like you're angry as well, mate. So I don't know if it's a good idea or not. But hey, we haven't spoken backstage about anything apart from sensible.
That's looking like a bank robber.
Yeah, and it's looking like a bank robber.
Well,
or a homeless man. Or a homeless man. One of the two.
Go on, Rob. Mike's yours. Floor's yours.
If I'm here to be human shield for Cooper, I'm just going to turn the comments off while I reply.
No, Rob, be you.
Be yourself, mate.
Right, okay, so first
We'll
thing,
defend you.
right, so we've now lost 3 in a row. And if we were going to look at it objectively, generally speaking, 5 or 6 in a row is generally worth a sacking. I think, if you look at other clubs in other leagues, it's generally once that happens. So he's pretty much halfway there. Certainly, because I watched it on Sky, Redknapp in the studio, was saying if they're going to do it, they've got to do it now. So I think the mood music has definitely changed. Whereas, there's been previous points where the media and the commentators were all saying, well, why are they even asking this question after everything he's done, etc. So I think we've moved on a bit. Now, that result yesterday was not acceptable in any way. You do not lose at home to Everton. I mean, in all the years I've been watching Forest, there's basically 2 things that you don't do. You don't lose at home to Liverpool and you don't lose at home to Derby. Those results are basically illegal by Act of Parliament in Nottingham, right? And I don't remember. I think I was at a Derby 3-1, so that happened once in my memory. But basically, I can't remember us losing at home to Everton. You do not lose at home to Everton. Get away with the draw, but that was unacceptable. I think the problem is that, the manager is the one that has to carry the can. But I personally thought the team was awful. I thought the players were awful. They pretty much all underperformed. I was going to ask, what was the atmosphere like in the ground? Because it seemed like Everton, all I could hear was Everton fans.
Honestly, Rob, you're not wrong. That's all you could hear. Certainly, and I've said this before, I have missed a couple of games this season, but I have said the games I've been to, the Cooper chants don't last very long. They go once in the first half and once in the second half, and they soon get drowned out. But you could hear their fans. You're absolutely right. It was like a morgue, mate, in there, to use that expression, because normally, as soon as away fans pipe up, and they bought a full gambit. They bought the whole lot. I think they bought about 4,000.
Allocation.
So their end was full. Yeah, their end was full, right?
Did they have the protest at the start as well?
Yeah,
it was at 10 minutes.
Things, didn't they?
10 minutes into the game, wasn't it?
I mean, this is where I'm going. What I'm saying, I think the problem is that Everton were the story yesterday, right? Because obviously over the international break, they've had this deduction, and it's almost like whoever they were facing next was going to cop it for that. I don't mean to get morbid. I was thinking back to remember when Gary Speed died, and then we played Leeds the next day, and they thrashed us 4-0 at the City Ground. I was thinking, why the hell do we have to? They were like, "Oh, we dedicate this victory to Gary Speed." It's like, what have we done? What have the
Forest Liverpool semi-final of the FA Cup?
So exactly, it's back to Hillsborough as well.
They were taking out their frustration with the Premier League on us. It was like whoever they were going to play after that was going to cop it. And it's like now they're bottom of the league, they're looking at it like we've got nothing to lose here. Yeah. And the points deduction, it's given them like a siege mentality. So they've come, with a point to prove. They're all behind the manager, they're all behind the team, and we're going out there and we're scared. I really felt everything about the performance was scared. All the passing was backwards, and pretty much the only players that touched the ball in the first half were the keeper and the 2 central defenders playing triangles as Everton strikers were bearing down on them. It was unbearable to watch.
The fans,
absolutely unbearable to watch.
Over the last season and a half, last 2 seasons, the fans have been absolutely fantastic. We've got behind every single thing. They're fed up now. They definitely fed up. You clearly see that yesterday. There was no fight in certainly from what we were seeing on the pitch. There was nothing to motivate the support yesterday. And obviously you heard the boos at the end, and they were all round the stadium. And that's the first time I've heard them in a long time. If that's not an indicator, I don't know what is.
I think, though, even though the manager is the one that's going to be held responsible, I think we all have to accept that we all play a part in it. So the players underperformed, maybe the crowd underperformed, but even what we're saying now as part of the sort of commentary, that's all part of what goes into making a club. And the sentiment now is in a kind of vicious spiral now. And, it's one that I think has, it's very difficult to turn it around. But if you were going to turn it around, you would have to look to the players and the crowd and the online talking heads to be part of turning it around. And I just feel like we're not really doing anything to make that happen. We've decided new manager is the reboot the PC. New manager is the way out of this. And I think that's. I don't think that's.
Rob, this is not over one game. This is not over one game. And you've kind of made the kicking the can down the road statement already. That I'm sure we're going to get in the chat. Well, give him another 2 games. What is our away record is horrendous. It was the worst in the entire football league last season, and it's carried on over into this season.
2 and 26.
Yeah. So, and what does anybody who's kicking this can down the road for the next 2 games think we're going to get out of 2 away games when we can't put even the performance in together? So it is kicking the can down the road, because they're saying if we lose these next 2 games, he's out. What makes you think anything's going to happen in these next 2 games that's going to save him? And if it is, it's another rabbit out of his arse, because that's what he does. He pulls rabbits out of his arse. So he'll get 1 win in 50, 2 wins in 15, and everything will be forgotten. And that's what I'm sick of seeing, because we have settled for mediocrity. Because if we're happy with 1 win in every half a dozen games, then we have settled for mediocrity. And I'm sick of it. And also the style of football.
Will be decent, half a dozen will be decent. 1 in 10. Half a dozen will be fine. 1 in 10. 1 in 10.
1 in 10.
Just to finish on the next 2 games, I think what will decide it is whether we're competitive. Not just about whether we get any points from it, but whether we're actually competitive. What are you seeing that makes you have any hope that it's going to change? I know. I'm not hopeful. I'm not hopeful. But what I'm saying is, if you look at that West Ham game, right, we were at least competitive in that game. We scored 2 goals away from home. We gifted them 1, which was Dominguez. And then the rest of the game, they won that game because they had James Ward-Prowse, right? But we were at least competitive in that game. Brighton as well, we were competitive in that game. We should have been able to pull it back with them having 10 men. But, they are a class act. Their goals were excellent finishes. I didn't feel like we were outclassed. We just lost to the odd goal. The difference with yesterday was that we were not even competitive, right? And if the next 2 games are like that, irrespective of how many points, if we're not competitive, that will be the end.
But Rob, it wasn't just a competitiveness. Yeah. Cooper purposely changed the formation and took people out of the squad, which for me had a negative impact. He's tinkering,
and that's what I don't like. I mean, that's what managers do when they're about to be sacked. They start tinkering. Do you remember? Exactly. Remember when Stuart Pearce dropped Britta Sombolonga?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, he's a young player. He's played too many games."
It's a sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sign. He's tinkering. Like Ryan Yates coming in as captain when he's not played any other games. The Aurier for Aina thing just seemed a bit harsh. I mean, obviously, he's maybe blaming that Brighton goal on Aina not winning the header, but he's been pretty much our best player so far this season. So he's tinkering, and it's a bad sign.
All right, let's get the other guys in. A lot of you want to know how Ant feels about the game. Now, I didn't even get to speak to Ant yesterday. I got a few expletives in a WhatsApp message. So, we're just a reminder, we're 18 rated, and they want to know how you feel, mate. Over to you.
I've got a few points. Firstly, I could see people wanting me to go off on one. Listen, guys, my back's still killing me, and I'm pretty loaded with meds at the minute, so I'm quite chilled. Okay, I can't promise I'll last the whole hour, but at the moment I'm quite chilled. Secondly, I'd like to say I watched the phone-in last night, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, Rob was there, superb. Brandon, particularly, I thought was excellent, made some excellent points that I agreed with, despite him giving me a bit of a slagging off at the end, but we'll let that go. I don't like the term happy clappers because it could be a bit disrespectful for people that are just merely being supportive of the club. However, in this context, I'm going to use it. So can I let all the happy clappers out there know we're not YouTube influencers, we're YouTube content creators, okay? So an influencer on YouTube is there to try and influence people to view things a certain way or do things in a certain way. We're not. We're just expressing our opinions. So for you happy clappers out there, don't get your knickers in a twist, right? You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine, and so are the other guys, all right? Just chill, right? You love Steve Cooper no matter what. Okay, it's a bit weird, but that's your thing. I love Nottingham Forest. I love Nottingham Forest, and I've had enough now. I've been pretty patient, I think. All last season I was patient. Even this season, I thought, let's see how it goes. It's not going well. Let's be fucking honest. 1 win in 10. 1 win in 10. That's 10 fucking games, 1 win. Now, I don't go to the away matches. I'm not fit enough, but I go to the home matches. But all those guys that go home and away, they've been to 10 games. That's probably 400 quid, plus the travelling and all the freezing your bollocks and all that, and they've seen 1 win. It's just not on. Now, yesterday, right, we were playing Everton. Everton are not a brilliant side. They're an okay side. They're not a brilliant side. So we decide, oh, hang on, Everton, they're a bit tough. So what we'll do, we'll put... Now, Ryan Yates, I love Ryan Yates, biggest fan, right? But I've said all along, he's a squad player. Last 20 minutes, if you need it, in there. No way from the start. The guy, love him as much as you like, he's not that talented as a midfielder. Okay, he goes around, he kicks a few people, made loads of fouls yesterday, couldn't pass the ball. I'm sick of seeing in chats and things, we needed Yatesy against such and such a team. If Yatesy had been there, no. Just because we're shit when he's not there doesn't mean we're going to be good when he is there, right? So get this out of your mind. Yatesy is 5th, 6th choice. Now, when you've got Everton's midfield, why do we think the way to combat that is to sit deep and have 3 defensive midfielders there at home? Why not say, hang on, we can have Sangare there, we can have Mangala there. They're enough, defensively wise, they're enough. And then you can have either Danilo, you can have Dominguez, somewhere to run forward. We never had anybody at the front. The only person at the front is an ineffectual centre forward. So even if you do manage from a defensive position to get the ball out wide, our wingers will go down there. Chris Wood will be 30 yards back. The tactic doesn't work. So why are you playing a negative, boring defensive tactic at home to Everton? So for me, for the time being, that's about it. When I say for the time being, I mean, I'm going to let somebody else speak.
Yeah, I just want to add one.
I don't care if we win the next 2 games. Fuck it. It's too late.
I just want to add one point to that, because the way we set up and the way we played, it seemed like he was settling for a draw yesterday. Did anybody else get that impression? Because we weren't going there to win that game yesterday. No chance. No chance. I don't see us creating any chance. We didn't get a shot on target till the 70th minute, and we're at home against.
I said it at the start of the watch along as he set up like we were the away team. He was playing to counter Everton's strength rather than thinking, why don't we play to our strengths? Problem is, he doesn't know our strengths, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry. And this whole show might sound like a Cooper slagging off. I don't care. I don't care anymore. You know what?
That's because, as far as we're concerned, it's our opinion. As far as we're concerned, it's all down to Cooper. We've always said we've got the players. It's down to the manager. You cannot have it. I don't want him to ruin his legacy. We've said it before. You cannot say when we win, Cooper's wonderful. When we crap, it's the players. No, the manager is responsible for picking the team, the formation, and the tactics. And they ain't working, and they've not been working for a long time. When was the last time we had a fantastic game where we were piling pressure on and looked brilliant and had more than 50% possession? When? Do you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, calling me guilty for jumping on that bandwagon as well when we got a result against Villa, because I felt, you know what? I thought maybe this is a turning point. I wanted him to succeed, and I still do. But he's not going to, and I've not seen enough in terms of how it's the way we're playing, mate.
We were fooled, mate. We were fooled with a Villa. We were fooled with a Villa result because their away record is shocking.
Their away record is shocking, and like I said, I don't want to take too much time because Dino needs to get in there and Crypto needs to say his point as well. But I want to just draw some comparisons with what we're seeing at Spurs at the moment. How they were last season and how they are now, you know what? They're going down fighting, even at the Etihad, with the squad that they've got at the moment, with the injuries that they've got at the moment. It's mentality. And they're pretty much the same players that were there last season. So what changed? The manager changed, the mentality changed. And that's what we need. I don't care what people think about, you know, it's a revolving door. He's had enough time. And if I'd seen progress, I would be all behind it. But I haven't really. We've had the odd result. And I don't think we've had a convincing win since we've been promoted back into the Premier League. We've had a lot of luck. So anyway, I'll let the other guys.
Make one more point before Dino and Crypto come in. Yesterday was no better than under Chris Hughton. And people were saying, get Hughton out, get Hughton out. And the day after he went, we were a better side. Same players, but a better side playing better football. The only reason we're not saying the same for Steve Cooper is because he's got promoted. Thank you very much, Steve, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I just want to say the shit stirrer is in the chat. That being, of course, Everton Mike, who will be tomorrow's big drop. Oh God, I'm neutral.
He's been mild.
I'm neutral tomorrow. He has said he's holding back for tomorrow, and he's going to unleash on Ant. So good luck, Ant. On that, I pinned his.
So I don't mind when smaller clubs come for me. It don't bother me.
Yeah. A couple of you have asked this comment in the chat.
It's not about the squad; it's about the mentality. Mentality's changed at Spurs. We need a mentality change. So I take on what he's saying, but
just to add to that, Postecoglou after today's match, was asked,
how classy was he?
Did you get away with one? I think we did, mate.
Yeah.
Cooper, every goddamn game, we should have had a penalty, but I'm not going to talk about the penalty. But I'm going to carry on talking about you just look like a knobsack when you do that. Either call out the penalty, grow some balls and call it out, or don't say anything at all. It's just embarrassing, man. It really is. Sorry, had to get it off my chest. All right, let's work our way around the snake. Crypto, next up.
Yeah, hi guys. So I think I'll start on the point. I'll start on the point that if Everton can see what's wrong with our play style after one game, then why can Cooper not see it after 2 seasons? It's pretty obvious for me what the errors were. I said it yesterday on the stream. I don't think we played that bad the last few matches, and I think we'd kind of got into a formation and a lineup that could potentially work if you play the right game style. We went 1-0 up last match. If we'd carried on trying to attack them, I think we would have won. Why on earth he's changed it all up for the Everton match, I don't know. I agree with Ant. I don't know what came over Cooper to think that Yates starting was acceptable.
I
don't know why Aina was dropped. I think Aina's, as Rob said, been one of our best players all season. Yeah, he's made a few mistakes, but you can get away with making mistakes when you're consistently good. Aurier wasn't in form when he was kind of dropped from the team.
Not been in form all season. Sorry, he hasn't been in form all season.
And he's still not in form now. And even if he was on form, I'd still put Nico Williams ahead of him. I'd still put Montiel ahead of him. Yeah, I don't know how Aurier got in the team yesterday. And when you watch the replay back of the goal, personally, I'd be blaming Aurier because he didn't mark his defender yet again. He doesn't mark his defender. He's too short to get the headers away in the box.
Gave the ball away so many times as well, Crypto.
It's just awful. I mean, so did Yates. Yates yesterday was not having a good game.
He didn't have a good game. Are you sure?
The passing in general was awful. If I switch around some positives, I thought Murillo was really good. I thought he had a good game. And I also think Alanga had a good game. I've seen a few people on social media saying that Alanga's not great, but he's got all of the pressure on him. All of our attacks are now up the left-hand side. He's got massive expectations on him.
And he had no help.
He's got very little help. He's got Chris. I can't even talk about Chris Wood because I'm probably going to throw my monitor on the floor. But he's got Chris Wood trying to keep up with him. Chris Wood for the last few games is sitting behind Morgan Gibbs White, sitting behind the attackers. He's almost playing like a cam role. But the problem is he can't attack and he can't score. And that header yesterday sent me and my mate and a few fans around us nuts because the ball came in. And he literally headed the ball towards our goal. He headed the ball 180 degrees away from where it should have been, which was their goal. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about Chris Wood later. But other few points to mention quickly. I think Morgan Gibbs White had a really bad game, which after last week was disappointing for me because he was probably our man of the match in the game before. But again, yesterday was really poor from him. The subs came too late. I didn't agree with them either, but they were too late for me. It's classic Cooper. You go a goal down and then you don't make a change until 20 minutes until the end of the match. And just on the Everton point, personally, I don't think Everton actually played that well yesterday. If we were playing someone like Man City, Arsenal yesterday, it could have been 6-7, 8-0. We would have got absolutely thrashed. So yeah, it was a poor performance all around. Probably one of the worst I've seen in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, just very quickly, there's over 400 of you in here. Thank you all so much for chilling. Hopefully everyone's getting stuff off that. Use and abuse the chat and just say what you need to say in there. I'm trying to bring up as many of the comments as I can. They're flooding through, so use the super chats as well, just like Brandon does, and we can break in the show to come to your comments. Brandon, we love you, Brandon. I think Brandon was fantastic yesterday on the call.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, everyone was absolutely.
Get the likes up, guys.
£5 in from Brandon saying, I have this question. Cooper keeps talking about this plan. The team is aware of this plan. Am I missing something, or has he not shared this plan? You know what? If I hear about this plan, this plan one more time, I've heard it from Newcastle last year. I'm still waiting for this plan, man. The Great Escape plan, whatever it might be. It's
the plan is to finish 17th. That's the plan.
That's the plan. Well, that's where we're heading at the moment. Yeah, please don't forget to hit the like button as well if you haven't already. Dino, I know you were on with us yesterday, me and Crypto, on the call-in show, but we purposely held back our thoughts so that we could, because it's more important to hear what the guys in the chat and who are watching are saying. But tonight is about the opinions of the panel, and I know you got a few things you need to get off your chest, mate. So over to you. The floor's yours, mate.
Well, the last comment about the plan, most managers go into a job, don't they, saying there's a 5-year plan, so they get a 5-year contract. That's the long and the short of it. But I listened to Ant speaking there about the tactics. I don't think he meant this, but I don't think the way we're setting up is bad with the formation. I would say that. I certainly enjoy it more than I did last season with a low block back 5. So that's been a positive thing for me if I can find one. But the players within the tactics aren't playing to their strengths. Danilo, for example, he's not and I said this from the very beginning before he signed, he's not a defensive midfielder. He's better attacking. So is Dominguez. And neither of those in the past few games I've seen get anywhere near the 18-yard box. MGW again is playing out of position constantly. We all know he's not a winger. You know, he's pretty much playing as a playmaker on the wing, isn't he? He's not a winger. Like Crypto said, on the positives, I would say Murillo, he's a superstar, man. I mean, if we manage to keep hold of him by the end of January, I'll be delighted. And Ilanga's impressed me. You know, a bit patchy at times, but Ilanga, he's direct, and I like that. Crypto, I agree with you on the MGW had a bad game yesterday, but I do see something positive in MGW. He puts in effort from minute 1 to minute 90. And I have to say, when you look at him versus somebody like Wood or some of the other players, the lack of effort that I see from them is ridiculous. And for me, I know what Wood's going to do. He'll come up against one of the next two, Fulham or Wolves, and he'll score a goal. And everybody say, "Oh, we told you he was good." He's not good. He's getting paid a lot of money for strolling around the pitch not being good in the air, not being good on the ball in terms of agility and dribbling, and not being fast. So for me, he offers nothing. But like I said a couple of streams ago, him and Origi is all we've got till January. So as fans, we have to get behind them.
But Dino, why was Origi not started yesterday? He's got a record against Everton.
Only Cooper knows, mate. Only Cooper knows. Only Cooper knows. But I would probably see him in against Fulham starting personally. I think we are actually statistically and on the eye worse than we were last season. You know, even at the same, everybody talks about the same stage last season and they show the table. But at the end of the day, the football actually looked better at that point last season than it does certainly in the last 2 games. I mean, Villa, I agree. I thought we were a lot better, but they had such a high line. We could have butchered them all day long with a long ball over the top, which tactically Cooper got right. But we are definitely worse on the eye and in statistics than we were last season. I felt last season, although it was a back 5, I felt that we had an identity. I could predict what we played like. I cannot predict at the minute because there's no simple, you know, when the under-23s train, they train simple passing triangles and pass and move. There's none of that currently in this Nottingham Forest squad. I do believe that I think Crazy Cat Lady put it earlier that other players, you know, they stopped playing for Cooper. I don't think they dislike Cooper, but I think they're probably more attacking minded than Cooper's management style. If you look back even into the Swansea days, he's always been a defensive kind of coach, and we've bought a lot of attacking players. Yet we've got a defensive coach. So I think there's a natural mismatch there. You know, I don't know what Sangaro must think he's walked into. But one thing that does disappoint me is, you know, Cooper has divided the fans. Not FFTV, not Cooper in people. It's, you know, the fact that he did so well for us in a desolate season where we thought we were going down to League One and pulled us out of that. Pulled serious rabbits out of his arse, you know, and brought us up was incredible. But I do think he's reached his level, and I don't like having spats with Cooper in people on social media, and that's what's happening all the time. So we need to unite in some way, whether that's a new manager or whether that's Cooper miraculously changing the fortunes of Forest, which for me would be a miracle because I don't think he's got it in him. Because for me, it's actually on a very slow decline because I don't see any progression. But it's sad that we're probably at more loggerheads in my history and ancestry than we've ever been. The fans, you know, one camp this, one camp this. And I'm Cooper out camp because beautiful what he did in the Championship. But I think he's reached his level. I really do. I think it's time for a change.
Rob, let me jump you back in there. I kind of want to pull this debate back a little bit into looking at the positive sides of Cooper and just making a case for where things are. Because usually the narrative always is he brought us from bottom to top, staved off relegation last season. Is that enough? Is that now enough to ground an argument on? Or has he still got more to offer, in your opinion?
It's 100% about the next 2 results and whether we look competitive in those games. And if we lose them both and we have no shots on target, then he's gone.
Is it okay? You're talking about the performances. What if the performances are really good and we still lose? Like, where does that put him?
Because then there's still hope, isn't there? I mean, like I say, with Brighton and West Ham, there was enough in there to have me not panicking. You know, we scored some good goals in those games. You know, but if we go to Fulham and we just don't even lay a glove up, Fulham are not very good at the moment. You know, they're not good.
They were 3-2 up against Liverpool with 3 minutes to go today at Anfield.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Another guy, can I just, Rob, can I just say something, right? With this giving him another 2 games, right? We've won 1 game in the last 10. You do realise that 10 games is over a quarter of the season, don't you? That's over a quarter of the season. One win.
Right. So who's available though? This is the question.
Oh, let's not go to that yet. Let's not go to that yet. Let me just. I just want to kind of back up Rob here. I do understand, and I totally agree with you, Rob, that if the style of football was good and we were just unlucky and we got the odd VAR and we're just losing by the odd goal, but we put in a great performance, I wouldn't be worried too much, because it's going to turn at some point. But the thing is, we're not winning and the performances are getting worse. If we're putting in good performances and we come away going, we're so unlucky there, 100% back here. I would 100% agree with you. But the thing is that I feel that the players they're either confused, they've got zero confidence in the vision, whatever it is. And I just think now we were always underdogs in the Championship, and last season we were underdogs. Now, as three lesser teams in terms of weaker teams, in my opinion, have come up, and there's still a couple of other sides that are bad now, we're not so much underdogs. And when you spend as much money as we spent on players, that underdog status just gets a little bit bigger, and the expectations get a bit bigger from all that we should be mid-table by now on paper. And I just think that Cooper's still in this underdog status.
Do you know what you're saying there? I almost feel like you don't know where to put your finger on what you're saying about the players. I don't know if you'll agree with this, I think the players feel they're getting a free ride. We've heard it before. Morgan Gibbs-White after the Brentford game was like, "Ooh, he shouted at us. That's the first time ever." Yeah. It's like when I was a kid, I knew what I could get away with my dad. The limit was there. Cross that limit, crack. Yeah. With my mum, I could push that boundary as much as I wanted. I almost feel like Cooper is, because he keeps going on about, oh, the spirit's still good, the team's still good. You know what? The spirit shouldn't be good when you've won one game in 10. Yeah. It shouldn't be good. There should be freaking almost coming to fisticuffs.
I think how can
the spirit thing be good?
Yeah, I disagree with you on the spirit thing. I think a club should always have good spirit and fight together. And we do see good spirit fight. That's one thing Cooper has done. But what I do see is very, very good players making very, very simple mistakes. I'm meaning from passing A to B. And you saw it like throughout the game yesterday. Simple passes that just went astray. You saw it against Brighton as well. And it's been creeping in for a while. And that is down to confidence. And for me, the manager has to breed that confidence in the players. And that's probably where he's struggling.
But Dino, why is he playing players who haven't played in a few games? They won't have any confidence.
I don't think that matters so much. I really don't. We could have said the same about Everton yesterday, missing their talisman up front, but they still beat us.
Exactly.
They're still comfortable.
It's tinkering, plain and simple. It's what managers do when their careers are on the line. They start tinkering, like, oh, let's give Pay a game. Maybe he'll turn things around. Let's give Ryan Yates a game.
Desperation, isn't it?
It's late stage manager career behavior.
But however much you tinker, so many players that on paper are mid-table played they played Championship football yesterday. A lot of them.
Well, can we actually address the elephant in the room? I'm going to argue I don't think the squad right now is as strong as the one we had last year. I don't think anybody's said it yet, but
couldn't disagree more.
We're talking about what we spent, right? We are overlooking the fact, where did our goals come from last year? Awonyi and Johnson. Neither of those are available to us right now. And if you look at the goalkeeper, I don't think we know who our first choice goalkeeper is. I don't know whether you're going to discuss goalkeepers tonight, but I did not like Vlachodimos yesterday. His aerial handling reminded me of Mark Crossley on a bad day. And Mark Crossley was a superb shot stopper and penalty saver. So you tolerated him flapping at crosses. But Vlachodimos doesn't have that. I can't remember him making a save. I actually cannot remember him saving a shot in a game for Forest.
I'm a Turner fan, by the way, Rob, but going back to what you were saying about the squad, I do think the players are stronger this season, but you can't row. If the players are rowers on a ship in the sea and you've got nobody guiding you and leading you, they'll just row around in circles. And that's what I see with Forest right now. I see a lot of talented players that are lacking confidence, that are under a lot of pressure. They know their manager's under pressure. and they start making dumbass mistakes like every other single club does in the same situation. We're not unique. We're not unique in this. This has been done over years and years and years and years since football existed. As soon as you lack that confidence, people make mistakes.
Surely,
to be honest, goalkeepers
I won't bring Ez in as well. He's been sticking the finger a bit. Go on, Ben.
I was going to say, surely yesterday was a proving point that our squad is better this year, because yesterday he reverted to Yates and Aurier, and we just went downhill. I mean, if you look at our defence, it's 10 times better than it was last year. Last year we were playing McKenna and Worrell, who had some pretty consistently bad games.
We've not seen Felipe until last night. That's been a massive difference.
Yeah, but Niakate, Bolly, and Marilla have been pretty much consistent every game that they've played.
Yeah.
Our defence last year was awful. I think, did we not let in twice as many goals or something by this time last year? I mean, it was...
okay, we played the first half of the season with Worrell and McKenna. What I'm saying is, if you compare the second half of the season, if you compare the team that we had for the second half of last season, I think there's some better, some worse, but we don't have Loddy anymore. And with respect to Toffolo, even though he's played all right this season, Loddy was better. If you look at Henderson, last year was better for us than either of the two keepers we have on our books at the moment, right? There were games that we won because of Henderson's performance, whereas Turner, and also Vlachodimos, you tend to sort of say, well, we let 3 goals in, but it wasn't their fault, Whereas last year we were nicking games 1-0 and Henderson was making that possible. So Loddy, Henderson, Johnson, we do not have available. Sure, Sangare is an upgrade on Freuler. I don't think anyone would argue against that. But right now, the players that are fit and available, I'm not sure that we can actually put out an 11 which is better than the one we had in the second half of last season. With Loddy and Felipe. Felipe, maybe he's going to be back, or maybe we'll never see him again. I don't know.
Yeah, but Rob, that's what happened. You can't change the... Henderson wasn't brought in again because he was injured. Loddy wanted to go back to his...
Yeah, Henderson was only fit for half the season. So by the same...
What he played, he was excellent.
One year was missing most of the season.
Yeah.
Henderson, you either or you don't. You can't pick and choose. Well, I'm going to pick all the fit players from last season against all the injured players from this season. That's not really very fair.
Okay, look at the team that we put out against Arsenal, for example. Or Brighton last year at home. Think of those big games. I'm just seeing faces in my mind that are not available to us now.
Yeah, but Rob, who was in goal for us against Arsenal, and who was in goal for us against Man City in the away games last season?
I know, but
last season. It was Henderson. Those 2 games were 11 goals conceded.
Oh no, you're talking about the away game, right? So the home games.
Just separate the away from the home. It's one.
All right, all right, maybe you all think that the squad cut and dried is better than what we had last year. I'm just saying there's an argument.
Long way.
We've sold Brennan Johnson and we're acting like, that was nothing. It's all right, we've got Elanga now. I think he's a big loss to us.
Yeah, but he wanted to leave. You can't keep somebody who wants to leave.
I know that. I know that. What I'm saying is, though, we've got one, when we are trying to get the ball out of our half, we've currently got one out, which is Elanga. Right.
But what's that down to? But this is my question, Rob, because I feel like you're really doing your best to try and give an alternative viewpoint, but I think you're really actually on the side of what we're saying, because you've said it yourself. He's clutching at straws. He's making all these changes and tinkering with the team because he's out of ideas, and that's the fact of the matter. He's out of ideas. The players aren't the issue. The players will only play the way you're telling them to play. I've touched on this already. When they're told to sit back, they sit back. When they're told to move forward, they move forward. He's behind this. And I feel like that it's wrong. You know that it's not going right. And you know that it's not going to improve. But you don't want to... maybe it's not... You don't want to admit it. Maybe you don't want to admit that it is time for a change.
I think he's just tried to give another point of view, but I'd like to...
No, I understand.
I just have to say one thing, and I really apologize, man. I'm sorry. I've put the poll up, and YouTube still haven't fixed the problem. So I'll let you guys know. I think it comes up blank to some of you. It says which squad is
Yeah,
better.
it's all right on laptop. It's all right on laptop. I don't know what's
Yeah,
like
the
on.
first option is this
Let me see
year.
on
The
the phone.
second option is last year. So if it's blank, top one this year, bottom
It's
one
fine on the
last year.
phone as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Rob,
why
I
it's
agree
not
with you.
on.
1/3. Okay.
Which third?
Yeah, that's the front. That's the front
forward
line.
third.
That's
Yeah,
the front
better
line.
absolutely.
forward
Yeah.
line last season than we've got this season. In the forward line, I'm including everybody in that half. So you number 10, your 2 wingers and your striker.
Well, think
We
about who
definitely had
scored
much
against
more depth and we
Everton
were
at home.
stronger.
Who scored against
hold on,
Everton
hold
at
on.
home? It was Johnson, wasn't it?
Yeah, hold on. So we were stronger last year than we are this year, but we are stronger in midfield this year and we're stronger in defence, and we've got 2 reasonably good goalkeepers. I do take your point about Henderson. He became very quickly a cult hero, even though he was injured for a lot of it. So it was exciting. He loved, he had the passion that we're lacking now.
But we were right not to bring him back,
What
weren't
was
we?
What was our front 3 last season?
Yeah, hold on, go on. You have your say now. I know you've been.
Yeah, what was our front 3 last season?
We had Dennis, didn't we? We had Tyro.
started.
We had
I'm more
Jono.
asking Rob, to be honest, because Rob's the one that's making the argument.
Well, it was Gibbs, White, Awoniyi, and Johnson, and we've lost a third of that.
Hang on, no, wait a minute. It was Gibbs. So last year's front 3, you're saying it's Gibbs, White, Awoniyi, and Johnson.
Yeah.
And you think that's better than Elanga, Awoniyi, and Callum Hudson-Odoi? Okay.
Rob, if we still
have we played all 3 of those in the same game yet? Maybe.
Yeah, but you can't say we're crap because he's injured. I mean, that's the squad is the squad.
Rob, if we had a
our strongest squad this season against our strongest squad last season, you're saying it was NG, Dub, Johnson,
Can I just say the only reason I'm trying to say this is just to temper a little bit of this. We've spent 130 million. We should be in European qualification. I'm just saying it's not that cut and dry for me. It's okay. Maybe the squad is marginally better, but I just
a lot better.
I don't believe
what
it's
was our midfield 3 last season, Rob?
Yeah, all right. I've already mentioned Freuler. We don't need to go there.
Yeah,
Rob. If we had
Langa, Sangare, Danilo, or Dominguez, and Mangala. You're saying
let him finish. I'll bring you in, Ben.
Yeah, but mate, I'm just somebody's put forward something, and I'm just disputing it.
You know what I'm saying? Carry on. I'll shut Ben up for a sec. Carry on.
Yeah. So you're saying that Freuler, Yates, and Mangala was better than.
I'm very much not saying that.
Sangare, Dominguez, Stroke, Danilo, and Mangala.
That is absolutely not what I'm saying.
Fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Now let's go to the back.
No, he's saying he's not saying that. And hold on, and he's saying he's not saying that. Go on, Rob.
Yeah, you can't straw man him. He's not saying that.
He said it's better. I'm going through the team.
Right.
That's all.
Okay, so I'd say. Right, let's break it down. Goal, I think we're slightly worse than last year. Defense, I think we're swings and roundabouts about the same.
Sorry, mate. I didn't quite. Oh, in goal, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
I accept that. Yeah.
Goal, not as strong as last year.
Yeah,
Defense,
I accept that.
Right, defense about the same because Aina coming in probably makes up for Lodi going. You've got the other people are the same, and Murillo better, but Felipe hasn't played, and Felipe was fantastic last year. Right. I think defense about on
what
a
par. What was your back four? Your best back four.
Let finish.
Right.
No, I can't let him finish. That makes no sense because he's just going on and mentioning.
I'll try
and do it. I'll try and do it in 10 seconds.
Hang on. I want to know his back four last season. That's what I'm asking.
It was a back five.
No,
it was a back five. It was a back five.
No, we're playing with a back four, mate. We're playing with a back four.
Right, fine. Back five. Back five. It doesn't matter. Go on. Just go with your back five, Rob.
Well, last season it was Aurier. Aurier was better as well last season. Aurier, Lodi, Ollie, Felipe, and when he was fit, Niakate. Right?
Thank God you didn't say Warrior.
No.
So why is that better than this season?
Well, okay. Felipe
we've got Aina, we've got Niakate, we've got Felipe, we've got Murillo
last season.
Yeah, but it's not better, is it, than this season? It's a better front back four or five.
Right. Can I actually say what I think and not what you're saying? I think.
Yes. Go
okay.
Right. No. Because I asked you what is the best back five. Shut up a minute.
Let him finish.
No. Because I want.
Why? Is it the out show? Let him finish.
Wait, Dino.
You shut up. Let him finish.
Right. Let me.
You are interrupting. You are interrupting.
And go on, and stop.
I'm making my point.
Stop.
I'm making my point.
And make your point.
Trying to, if I can get a fucking word in for a change.
Oh.
I've been sat here quiet for the last 20 minutes. Right?
And
Can I
I'm
say
giving
something?
you the floor. Go.
Anne, just say it.
Right. Calm down. Go on, Anne.
I'm trying to ascertain what Rob says, because Rob is saying our defense was better last season than this season. Are you not? So our defense is better this season than last season.
It's about the same. On its own
said
apart.
it.
I'm disagreeing. So I'm asking what your back five is. And you told me some names. And I said, this season we have Murillo that we didn't have, Niakate that we did have, Felipe that we did have, Aina that we didn't have. But you're saying they're the same. And Bolly that we did have. But you're saying they're the same. You're saying that the addition of Murillo and who else did I mention just now?
Well,
has not improved. Has not improved that back line. You're saying it's not improved that back line. Put Murillo in there for a start. You're saying it's not improved the back line.
Second half of last season, our best two defenders were probably Lodi and Felipe. Lodi has left. Felipe has not played this season, right? So what I'm saying is,
he played on Saturday.
In the defense, in the defense.
But when people say false things, Ed, I'm supposed to sit there.
Yeah, but he's still got to finish his points. Then you can say that.
No, it's his point, and let him have his point, and I'll let you jump back in.
In the so we've lost Lodi. Felipe hasn't played. That for me cancels out the benefit of getting Murillo and Aina, who've probably been the best two signings overall. Right. So for me, I'd say the defense is roughly on a par with what it was in the second half last season. Goal, I think we've taken a mild step back because the two keepers we had on loan last year, I think were both better than the ones that we now own. Midfield, definitely stronger. There's no argument there. But up front, I think we are weaker. All right?
Rob, can I ask you a question?
So that is, for me, 2 out of 4 departments.
You already said, when I mentioned up front, you already said, oh, okay. So you're saying that MGW, Taiwo, and who else you got there?
Jono.
And Jono.
Wood's going to be on the halfway line while Alanga and Johnson are running down the wings. They're the fastest players in the league. You can't have Wood in between them.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
Right. You mentioned Wood. Who mentioned Wood?
I don't think anybody's giving Johnson the credit for how important he was to the team, and we don't have him.
Well, of course he was important, but one player doesn't make a team.
No,
and by
exactly.
having Hudson-Odoi and Alanga and Taiwo, I think is a better front line.
I'm just going to say, and I'll let Crypto in because he has been waiting patiently. I think you're in the minority here, Rob. I think if you put a poll out and we ask the majority of the fan base, is our squad better this year than it was last year? I'm not going by position because you could be here all day. But overall, is our squad better now than it was last season? I think the majority will say yes. I think you're in the minority to say that we're not any better than we were last season.
The poll's 83% this year, 17 last year.
Yeah, but the overriding point from my issue from my point of view is that you're going to try and are you going to try and tell me that a better manager couldn't get more out of this current squad than Cooper's getting out of it? Because that's where this conversation should be going. Because he's gone as far as he can go. He's run out of ideas. Yesterday was a perfect example of that. All he says in press conferences and post-match interviews is sound bites and buzzwords. That's all he uses. The same thing about, this plan. But we knew how we were going to come at us and we trained for it all season. Yet you couldn't stop it. What does that say? And you can't just push it on the players, because I guarantee you, and that goes back to my parallel that I'm trying to draw, and you can say that Spurs have got better players, but my main point was their mentality was changed. A new manager came in, a fresh set of, same way Cooper came in with a breath of fresh air, and now I told you it's gone stale. It needs freshening up, and if we don't do something now, we will be fighting a relegation battle. If we stick with a status quo, if we stick with Cooper, there's going to be no improvement. And Rob, you argue that, because I don't think you can. But I do want to.
Also, I don't want to.
You agree. You agree. So what are you defending? What are you actually defending? No, sorry. Rob, what are you actually defending, Ben? Are you? Because it sounds like sentiment. What you just said you agree. So what are you actually defending here?
I didn't bring up the relative strength of the squad in order to take the pressure off Cooper or to blame the players. What I was trying to say is, I got triggered by somebody saying we spent 130 million, right? And I think there's if we go back a couple of months ago, you guys were all saying, oh, we should be getting into Europe this year, breaking into the top 10, etc., etc. I think that is an unrealistic expectation. I don't think we should be knocking around 17th in the table. All I'm saying is that if the squad has improved, then it is, for me, quite a marginal improvement. And therefore, I don't think that the 130 million has actually been spent all of that well.
Can I ask you a question, Rob?
Poor
Let me ask
Rob.
Rob a question.
Poor Rob. Luckily, he's got a strong set of shoulders on him. Go on.
Rob's brilliant.
I kind of agree with some of what Rob's saying, to be fair.
He's got point. I agree with
we've always been before I asked Rob this question, we've always been a channel that said we invite opposite opinions on, so we should hear them, in my opinion, but that's by the by.
You're right, mate. You're right.
Thank you. So the question is, forget the manager, Rob, the players we have all fit. Where do you think we should? This is a two-part question. So where do you think with the players we should be in the table? Just the players. Forget the manager.
Well, the table doesn't lie. Where we are right now,
we should be, in your opinion.
Well, if we'd had a Wonyi every game, we could have been higher up and should have been higher up. But now it looks bleak until he comes back or we sign somebody. I can't see where the next win's coming from, personally.
Forget that. But with just the players, where would you predict our league position finish at 38 games?
Well, it seems like we're doing a very Forest thing at the minute, which is we're looking down at the teams below us going, oh, there's a 6-point gap. Oh, there's a 5-point gap. Oh, there's a 4-point gap. And every game we go through without picking up a point, we are now on fewer points than games, right? If you want to stay up in any league, you've got to get a point per game, right? We need to be getting like 38 points. We are now fewer points than games. We're doing our very best to get ourselves into that relegation struggle. And what's horrible about it is how long it takes, how slow. It's like a slow death, because we are going to get sucked into that relegation struggle. Because at the minute, I just can't see where the next win is coming from, because I don't think there's a manager on this planet that can get goals out of Wood and Origi, quite honestly. I mean, obviously, the current system is, if you want to get goals out of Chris Wood, and maybe it is physically possible, you have to build the entire system around him. The whole system has got to be about wing play, whipping in balls onto his head, right? And that is absolutely not what Cooper has set them up to do. Wood's playing in midfield. And when Origi comes on, he can put in a 30-minute shift. I don't see him touch the ball once. I don't actually know what kind of player he is.
If you can't answer part one of the two-part question, there's no chance I'm going to get you into part two.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is, where are the players? And everybody else can answer this. Chat's already answered. I've just pinned a couple. I agree with this one. Hold on, sorry. Let me.
Yeah,
I will say 11th on paper, the team.
I'd
but
agree.
with Cooper, for me, that's lower. That then becomes lower. Now, if you look at we bring it up all the time, and I apologise for doing this again, but Gerrard in a Villa struggling side and then Emre taking over, the difference with a kind of more progressive attacking manager, for me, would be the difference between 11th and 8th and 7th. Because the 8th and 7th people, 7, 8, 9, are your Brentfords of this world. We're better than, we must be better on paper than Brentford. We've got to be. We've got to be the Palaces of this world, We've got to be better than that. Sorry for kicking you, Ant. That's just a joke, by the way.
Listen, I'm getting old.
I'm trying to say, where do you think the team are?
Politician.
And then
I'm going to say, are we allowed to tell them, Rob? Are we allowed to tell them?
Well, just go on Wikipedia and check out the Nottingham East result from 2019 general election. That was me. So I am a politician. I beat Chris Leslie. I beat Chris Leslie.
I get it. Rob, still love you there, Rob. I love you so much for coming on.
This is what I've had a lifetime of training in defending unpopular opinions. So
you're very good.
You've got a popular opinion, Rob. Let's get it straight.
You've got the more popular opinion than the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? we're like Rob's fine with this, I believe. Like this isn't the ask Rob a question thing, but I just and I thank you again for coming on, Rob. I think you're brilliant anyway. Off air, we hit it off really well, but I just really think it's important because if Rob wasn't here today, holding Anne and Ez and Dino and Crypto down just would have been like.
That is one real even more. What are you talking about?
But I just think it's really important that there's some form of balance tried to be achieved with everything coming on. I want to give Rob a breather for a second to put a chat. Crypto, I'm going to come to you, mate, because the question that's been plaguing me over the last 24 hours as well is the question of, has Cooper lost the dressing room? And chat, I'm going to put a poll on this one because I don't honestly know the answer to it. And I just want to get some opinions on it. I'd love Rob to be on as a regular. I think he's fantastic. I really do. If you guys want it in the chat, our people can speak to his people. Things can happen, you know. But
I'm quite cheap.
Yeah. Well, define cheap. Yeah. So Ben, I just want to kick it off with you. And chat, we'll get the poll up in a second, but get your comments in as well. There's nearly 500 of you in here. Please don't forget to hit the like button. We're on 140 likes. You guys, it's free to press the like button. Please do it. But Crypto, kick us off. What's your gut feeling saying about the players in the dressing room here?
I think yesterday for me was different. We looked like a complete mess. It looks like we were out of shape. You know, the defensive line, the midfield line weren't sticking together. At half time as well, we've said this so many times. I'd love to know what Cooper says to the players at half time because the other team always seems to come out with a bit more fight and a bit more desire. Do I think he's lost the dressing room? I think after yesterday, I think he has. It was just so different from any other match. And as Rob has mentioned, if he's starting people like Yates, there's no good reason to do it. He doesn't know his team. We're 2 seasons into the Premier League. He doesn't know his starting lineup. He doesn't know his best players. You know, it's not good enough really. And also, I think you had to start Origi. Wood is just not working for us. It's not working for us. And one point I was going to mention on the Rob formation was if you brought Brennan Johnson back, and I agree with you that we missed Brennan Johnson. I think he was really good. He was one of my favourite players. But if you brought Brennan Johnson back and you had Elanga and Johnson on the wing, who are 2 of the fastest players in the league, then what are you going to do with Wood and Origi? Because they wouldn't be able to keep up with them. It would almost be pointless. And yeah, 1 second. And you've said, you know, I don't want to go back to everybody pile on Rob, but you've said that this season's team is not as good as last season's, but you've only given 2 examples that you prefer Loddy and Henderson. All the other lines you've said
and Jono
and Jono, yeah, but
and Steve Cook.
But Steve Cook's our all-time best player. Are
you?
But
they're all coming out the wood. Lingard,
Ayew and Wood are probably the 2 of the
I forgot about Lingard.
Lingard, oh my god.
Shelby. Yeah, I mean, I completely disagree with you that we've got a weaker team this year. I think we've definitely got a stronger lineup. But I agree with Dino that the management, and probably not just Cooper, but the coaches as well, have got to let them play in the style that they want to play. The players must be so frustrated, especially people like Morgan Gibbs-White. 1, he's out of position. 2, he's probably being told to run back and help them in low block. It's just the players we've brought in don't match Cooper's tactics for me. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. And I think that he's done it for so long that he doesn't know now how to change it.
You know, sometimes when you lose something that was okay, when you've lost them, you think back to those days with great, you know, you remember the good bits. I feel that with Jono. You know, for certainly the last probably 15 games of the season, he wasn't good. He wasn't good. He certainly didn't have a good, strong season. And Simon, if he's in the chat, he'll always point out who he scored against. He scored against a lot of the lower teams. He never really did it against the big teams. So although he had lots of pace, I prefer Elanga personally. I think he's got a bit more about him in terms of skill. But Jono's got better finishing. But Jono is like a one dimension. And I think it was important for FFP for us to get rid of Jono.
Oh, we all know why he went. We know why he went. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a moot point, really. But for me, I know Ez was a big Jono fan. I wasn't a big Jono fan, really.
Yeah.
Just
before I get you to jump in, Ez, apologies, Brandon. You gifted a sub earlier on, and I think it was while the argument was kicking off. I think it went to Estro. I can't quite see it now. So thank you so much, bro. And Estro, make sure you send some love.
If you did get it,
Brandon's still in there. Just one thing I was just going to add for let Ez jump in. I think this is a cracking point. Is this a problem? Well, we've not really addressed this, Ez. Cooper can't speak Portuguese. Half the team's Portuguese at the moment.
It is an issue, isn't it?
I just made one point on that before Ez jumps in. Yesterday at the match, because I was sat quite close to the level of the pitch, Yates, obviously, as the captain, was telling people what to do. So he's telling people like Sangare what to do. Sangare can't understand Yates. He doesn't speak a word of English. He have no idea what Yates is trying to say to him. And one thing that you won't have noticed on TV as well is that the only person trying to tell people to get forward is Alanga. Now, Alanga is, 21 years old? And he's having to tell the team to get out our own box because he's the type of player who wants to progress.
Imagine the conversation between Yates and Sangare. Hey, up me duck, come over here, come here, me duck. Sangare's like, huh?
Not only that, why would Sangare take instructions from Yates? No disrespect, but they're worlds apart in talent.
It might be because we certainly know that the backroom team don't speak French because of what happened with the transfer deadline day. With Sangare, which would really surprise me, the fact that they reached out to us to say, have you got any French speakers? You know, we've got this marquee signing coming in. I'm thinking, all the people that are employed at Forest and nobody speaks French.
Yeah, but Serge Aurier speaks French. Why couldn't
he wasn't there? Was
He's
he?
probably in
We're coming back from international.
Yeah, but they're not going to take advice from Serge Aurier, are they? Crap.
No, I was on about the transfer.
All right, let's get back on track. Ez, go on. You're going to talk about.
I mean, there's a couple of points, and we've kind of gone past them now. But did anyone think, and it's how it came across to me anyway yesterday? Did anyone think it almost seemed like MG Dub spat his toys out of a pram or dummy or whatever you want to call it because of captaincy was taken off him yesterday? Because that performance yesterday was petulant from him. You know, it was awful. And you know what? The big problem with MG Dub, we say it every single game, is his flicks and tricks. How can a manager not tell him, just hold on to the ball for half a second and then pass it, instead of trying to flick it first time? A decent manager, half decent manager, would have drummed that out of him by now, because he has. Yesterday was petulant, mate. His performance was awful. His shooting is the worst I've seen from anybody claiming to be a number 10. Even when he was moved into that position, he did miss one opportunity where I felt he was stretching for it, and he was a little bit unlucky. But the rest of the time, he was no threat, and I felt he was a little bit, like I say, I'll use the word petulant. That's how it came across yesterday. But he is somebody that people have said we should be building a team around, and he's our main man. And I'm sorry, if he's our main man, we're in trouble. You know, something needs to change.
He should be in the middle. That's the problem.
But even when he was in the middle yesterday, what did he create? He had about half an hour in that number 10 position yesterday. What did he create? Because he didn't get the ball through to the strikers once. And Chris Wood
but the striker plays behind him. That's why.
Well, exactly. Well, Chris Wood can just sit on the bench and be the bench, because honestly, but there was a couple of times, and I pointed it out to Ant, he was trying to close them and he was calling the others. There was no one around him. Wasn't that right, Ant? We could see him trying to do that, but he had nobody back. You can't one person can't press the whole team. And the pressing game is something that we don't do well enough at all. Brighton were there for the taking. As soon as we pressed them a couple of occasions, they made mistakes, you know, and we don't do that. And it's like we don't.
As we were bullied yesterday, simple as,
you know.
We were bullied physically yesterday, simple as. We lost every ball. We lost every challenge. Yeah. You know, me and Owen were counting the number of second balls we lost, first balls, second balls, and third balls we lost. It was ridiculous.
And it was poor at times. The only difference I saw with Felipe coming on was when he wins a header, he usually finds somebody. For the rest of the team, they win headers and they do not find a second body. But Felipe was lucky to stay on yesterday. And I pointed it out to Ant as well. And he didn't realize he'd forgotten about the booking that he'd received on the edge of the penalty area. Because I remember Ant saying to me at the time, that could technically have been a red. You know,
it should have been sent off.
But he had another.
He didn't mention it, did he? He only mentioned the penalty incident.
No, of course.
Should have been sent off.
You got
2 yellows.
Your own mistakes, but you know, I mean, but he was rusty. It's his first game all season, but he had to come on because he's made that decision to bring. And how many times did decisions like that not work out for Cooper when he decides to bring a defender in who hasn't played for a while, and then they go and take an injury? Now we don't know how long Body's out for, but he has been, alongside Murillo, our most consistent central defender all season. Niakate's had good and bad games, but Body's been solid all season. And how long is he out for now? You know, but what was the need to bring him in yesterday?
And Eds, on top of that, shout out to Nicky. Quick apologies, bro. This one, it was there, but Ant and Rob were going at it. And Eds, I mean, Einar, thank you for the 199 as always. You're an absolute legend, Nicky. But look how good Einar is, our best player. And he was dropped for Serge Aurier because of one bad game. Yeah. And let me ask Ant this, because Ant, you and Crypto a couple of weeks ago were saying if they have a bad game, then their next should be on the line. Do you think it was right that Einar was dropped yesterday for Serge Aurier? And where's Montiel in all this?
Yeah, no. What I said was, if you've got a good replacement to come in, so if Dominguez has a bad game, you've got Danilo to come in. But I don't think that Aurier, sadly, because he was great last season, but I don't think Aurier is now a good enough player to automatically bring in if Einar has a bad game. That's the difference.
He's been poor all season.
Einar's always consistent, so if he makes a mistake here and there, it doesn't matter as much. If you've got a player who is consistently making mistakes, then when they do make a big one, it re-emphasizes it. I just wanted to say one point, and I know some of you guys disagree, but I agree with Rob that you should build the team around the striker. To win the game, you've got to score goals. And we've seen that with Wood having to replace Awani, the team is no longer built around the striker. It's built around Morgan Gibbs-White, but we're not scoring any goals. It's not working. But we need to have the wingers there to feed Chris Wood the ball.
Crypto, do you know what I want to say to that though? But they're just symptoms of an underlying problem, and the underlying problem is the way we play. We hand over possession to any team that's playing against us. Doesn't matter where they are in the league. You know, we treat them like they're fucking. Sorry, pardon. I don't want to keep swearing because you can't. Let it go. But the way we play, on average, a team that concedes as much possession as us is only going to end up in one half of the table in any league. And that's been the case since we've been in the Premier League. I'm sick of that play, mate. I'm sick of doing I do FPL content and stuff like that, or I watch FPL content. Forest players are never in the chat, mate. People never talk about us because we're shit. We're shit to watch. We don't deliver assists and goals on a regular basis. You can't trust any Forest player to put them into your FPL team, and it's embarrassing watching what others say about us because we're kind of in a bubble because we are Forest fans. Even though there is a split in how we think about things, we are kind of in a bubble. We're always going to put our team ahead of anybody else. But when others look at us, it's embarrassing to hear what they say.
They can't do the simple things. They can't pass a ball. The amount of passes we give away. They can't do it. It's unbelievable, really. It's almost like they need to go back to the basics of passing the ball, trying to keep possession. You know, we've got a striker up front who can't score goals, and we've got midfielders who can't pass. It's not good enough.
Can we have a little word about Sangare? Because I think yesterday's performance is a bit divisive. I personally thought he had a good game. And I don't know if you remember it, but I kept pointing out every time he's got his toe in again. What he does a lot of stuff that people don't really notice because he doesn't look very good. But
reminds me of Freuler.
That's
Freuler. That's what we were saying on Freuler last year.
That's not fair, Dean.
I think in the first half it was good.
He'll often get a toe in, just a toe in at some point when the opposition's coming forward and things like that. And what was interesting, I watched Everton Mike's match thing yesterday, review yesterday with John.
Yeah, he left a nice message on at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And they picked out 2 Forest players. They picked out Murillo. They said, yeah, he looks a player. And we'd already spoken about him on the preview. They also said Sangare. They said you could see the class that guy's got. So all the Forest fans are all saying, oh, waste of money, shit. Where's this class we hear of? I agree 100%. He's not at his best right now. But I've personally seen enough to know. And I think, we do miss him if he's not there, as we did last week. So I think that he gets a lot of criticism that's not warranted. I still think that he's going to come good for us.
As well on that, and I feel like yesterday he was targeted by the Everton players. It was quite often where there'd be 2 or 3 people trying to tackle him. I think they picked him out as you're right.
You're right, actually.
He looked not match fit to me.
I agree.
I was going to say that. He's come back from illness, hasn't he, Rob?
Rushed back again. Yeah,
he just seemed to be, he seemed to be sort of a bit slow, breathing heavily, looking like he wanted to get off.
That's like me on the treadmill. That's just normal.
for a marquee signing, he's not looked stand out in any game this season for me.
I still don't see that. He's 30 million. He's not 100 million. Sado, I'll go back to 100.
Our marquee signing. I'm not talking about.
Yes,
we're playing in a different league than that, lot, mate. I don't know if you know that already.
Dino, what league are we in here? Yeah.
But there's leagues within leagues, isn't there?
To a certain level.
There's leagues within leagues, mate, and there's nothing you can do to change your mind on that. There's our bit, and then there's a middle bit, and then there's a top bit.
But
and every now and then, a bottom bit will beat a top bit, right? A top team. That's all. But over a 38-game period, we're in that bottom bit for now.
Yeah,
so whatever you say about us being in the same league, there's a league. The league is made up of 3 sections.
I said to you, I just said that I agree. I don't think he's, been fantastic, but I see enough there to hope that he can be fantastic.
Yeah,
and he is French. He is new to the league. He's new to the country. We all know that can take some players longer than others. This is what I'm hoping. There's no guarantees.
Hey, blaming him being French is not an excuse.
He speaks French, but he's not French.
And it could end up like Worrell, where he's been in the city 30 years and he's still shit.
No, he's not
I thought you were going to say he's been in the city 30 years and still can't speak English.
Can I just say on that point, I saw one of the worst excuses I've seen on Twitter today was that we should keep Cooper because he understands the city.
I saw that.
I saw that. I understand. It don't mean he'll be the next Forest manager.
If he understands the city, but
yeah. Okay, just very quickly, thank you so much, Phil K. A year of membership, you absolute legend. Love you, bro. Thank you so much.
It's not frozen. It's not frozen.
No, is it?
No, I'm just saying very still.
It's nice to move in.
Now.
It's worn out.
It's thinking very hard about my next one.
Can I just, Wolfie, can I just say one thing before you go on to the last bit?
It wouldn't be a segue if you didn't. Go on.
It wouldn't be a ruined segue anyway, no.
One thing that really, really, really stood out for me yesterday was when Everton scored their goal in previous season, well, certainly last season and season before.
I know what you're going to say.
When the opposition scored a goal, the Forest crowd went mad with "Come on, you Reds!" Come on. When Everton scored, it was quiet, mate. There was no belief. There's no belief in that crowd yesterday that we could come back, and that is scary. And that is what chairmen see, and that is what losers managers their jobs.
Yeah.
I agree. The highlight of yesterday was seeing Tate get booked just for standing up.
That is the perfect segue, Crypto. It's like
I've got to just slip this joke in quickly.
Oh, God. Here
comes a dad joke.
The segue was ruined ages ago.
One of his dad jokes.
The other thing that stuck out for yesterday.
Brought it back on track.
Oh, my God.
Go on.
It better be good now, Dino.
The other thing that stuck out for you yesterday, Ant, were your nipples. There you go. It's done.
All right.
There were no near Carty standard. I can tell you that, mate.
That's it. No more interruptions.
Danilo.
No more interruptions. As Crypto just said, the highlight was Tate getting booked. Rob, is it fair, or should it be? Should the finger of criticism be pointed at these assistant managers, Tatey, Reed, and Reed? What are they currently offering, and are they good enough to be Premier League assistant managers?
There's not much evidence that they are, because we've consistently been the worst at both defending set pieces and taking them. And you know, that's what they get to work on. Like, you know, with 7 days in between the matches, they're basically in the gym and they're practicing. You know, they might run around a few cones and do a few triangles, but that's what they should be doing. They should be basically coaching set pieces. That's what they should be working on the training ground. You just can't see any of that. They don't seem to have any routines.
And don't forget as well, Rob, they should be coaching passing and shooting and how to win a game of football.
Wow.
They look great at shooting.
Just think how good they are at scoring in mini goals, though.
Yeah, that's it. The training is always mini goals. They look brilliant because they're scoring it from 3 yards out.
Should be more worried that Turner can't save in a mini goal.
But it is I think it's a question worth asking, because none of them came in with Premier League experience, including Cooper, on that front. And I just don't see the passion as that I saw with De Zerbi last week on the sidelines. I saw it again with that ginger prick yesterday, man. He was, no offense, Mark, I know you're in the chat, but Sean Dyche, man, he was all over the place, barking out orders, getting his line straight, moving, you know, the team around. And he got Cooper silent, and then Tatey, bless him, stood up and got sat back down with that yellow card.
He stood up to far. Yeah. It's big for the fact that he stood up for the first time. He got booked.
You know what I said to Nathan yesterday? We're sitting there and we're watching, like, a bit like last week with De Zerbi. I said the same thing, but I said to Nathan yesterday, I said, what do we need to build a statue for Steve Cooper for? There's already one there.
Yeah, it stood outside.
Got us.
And you know what? And the players reflected that yesterday, because they were freaking statues yesterday as well, mate. The lack of movement, the simple movement. Somebody's got the ball, get into space and give them an option. The amount of times Alanga got the ball down our left-hand side, and he was the only man there. Nobody around him. Toffolo was poor backing him up yesterday. They were all poor backing him up. He was on his own, and it's like it was him against the rest of their defense. But the players were absolute statues. And I'm sorry, it goes back to how they're being trained, because he keeps going on about this plan during the week and this, that, and the other. And it's like, we're seeing what have you spent all week working on with these players? Because I don't see it on the pitch. And you know, I'll keep going on and on and on about it, but this is it. It needs a change. It needs freshening up. I don't care what people think that, you know, you're causing a revolving door. This is a different league we're in, and we'll be looking at different levels of manager. We won't be looking for somebody to keep us in this. We shouldn't be looking for somebody who's going to keep us in this league. But if we take it any longer, we will end up getting somebody like Sam Allardyce in, because that's what we'll resort to. You will end up sacking him with 10 games to go, and we'll have, you know, it'll be a relegation fight. Do something now. Do something before this January transfer window. That's all I'm imploring. Go on.
None of us enjoyed the roller coaster of so many managers in the last 23 years. Nobody enjoyed that. But at the minute, I personally don't think Cooper's up for taking us any to where the owner's ambitions are. I'll put it like that. Okay. So the next manager might fail. The next manager might fail. We might have to go through a few more before we find that one that lifts us, like the Ange Postecoglou, or like I mentioned before, your Villa manager, Emre. It might take a while. It's not like the next guy is going to come in and be like, you know, title winner. I mean, but for me, it's not about the next person. It's about the fact that I think he's reached his ceiling personally. I would love him to prove me wrong. I really would, because I've come on here and I've done it before and just praise. But I don't think he's got it in him.
But Forest fans are fickle. Who did we have before Houghton?
Fans are fickle, mate.
Who did we have before Houghton? We had Sabri Lamouchi. Now, I will say this, and I think most Forest fans will agree. If it hadn't been for COVID and the fact we had no supporters in that stadium, and it kind of trickles on to how the mentality of Nottingham Forest, I believe we would have got into the playoffs. I mean, once you're in the playoffs, you know, it's a lottery. So Sabri Lamouchi was, for me, as good a manager as Cooper in the Championship.
He was defensive, though.
I think He was, but you know what? It worked for the type of players that we had.
Yeah, horses for
it worked for
courses.
the type of players that we had and the type of way we play. It worked, mate. But we got results in that season where we were winning 1-0 away from home. We don't do those kind of things, and we weren't doing those kind of things for a long time. So I think we've kind of been blinded by the fact that the manager just before Cooper was so bad. And that's obviously it's what's what we were looking for. You know, it's bias, isn't it? It's something that, yeah, that's it. You know, so that's what it is. But I think we need a change, mate. And I can't see how it makes any sense to wait till January, because if you're going to bring a manager in who's going to need to make changes in January, let him have a look at the squad now. Let him see what he needs to do, and let's get on with it, because we're not going to move anywhere further up the league. Looking up, and we weren't. And I know, Rob, you kind of called out, but there was the positions that we put earlier in the season with our predictions and stuff like that. And there is a little bit of like, you know, Wolfie saying we should be top 4 and this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got to reach for a higher height. And if you don't get there, you're going to get a little bit further along the way. I'm not going to settle for when I've heard fans saying this, we'll take staying up again this season. I'm not going to take that. I'm not playing. I don't, honestly, and I'll go back to it. I don't mind losing games playing well. But if we're playing shit and we're losing games, that's enough for me, mate. I
think we'll need to settle for staying up this season, because we've got no strike force till at least January.
That's an excuse.
Not that far away.
I'm sorry. It's not an excuse. Goals win games. Goals win games.
We can't even get up the pitch. How are we going to get up the league?
Yeah, Better. Calvert-Lewin was injured yesterday. Better's absolutely crap. Did they score yesterday? Yes, they did. Did they win? Of course they did. Yeah. So, you know, it's an excuse. And Taiwo is suddenly the greatest striker in the Premier League. I remember last season where fans were calling Taiwo out. Well, I've called him Bambi on ice. Yeah, and let's not forget Cooper.
How many goals has Taiwo got? How many goals has Taiwo got this season?
Three. Chris Wood's got just as many. Yeah. And let's not forget this point. Cooper didn't trust him as a striker last year. He shoved him on the wing against Chelsea and Southampton. So this whole revisionism on Taiwo, who I highly rate, by the way, I think he's important, especially the way he's developed. But I'm sorry, the revisionism and the excuse of not having a striker, that's not something that us as fans should be crying about. They should be talking about it internally. And why didn't they bring in Batshuayi instead of Origi? Because that was the other choice on deadline day. So to cry behind a lack of strikers right now, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it, because every single other club will complain about an injury they're missing that's suddenly so key. If Taiwo was back today, but we had injuries in the defense, then we'd be saying, oh, our problem is the defense. It's not the attack. Injuries are injuries. You can't avoid them. So what you do.
Okay, injuries and poor recruitment.
Fine, but you get creative. If you were to put a decent manager in this, they would find a way of, I don't know, maybe false nining someone, playing a different formation.
Gibbs White played that position
adore Taiwo, but if he's sorry, mate, go on, you go.
Well, Gibbs White did play false 9 a few games last season, and I think maybe if he had Hudson-Odoi on one side and Elanga on the other, there you've got a front 3 that doesn't involve Wood or Origi. It's worth a go, just to not have them in the team.
His shooting's not great though, is it? It's probably one of the weaker part of this game.
Probably better than Wood's crypto.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick point on Chris Wood. I think it's disgusting that you're a professional football player.
I absolutely adore Taiwo, and I think he is vital to us. But if he's the difference between being a good side and being a bad side, then we're in fucking trouble, aren't we?
Yes, that's my point. That's exactly my point. And just what you said.
Can I ask?
That's kind of what I just said, but I was knocked down for it.
Yeah, well,
sorry, mate. Not by me.
You know, saying.
Yeah, but can I just add a point? I had to watch the game back today just to make some notes. I know, but I did it in double speed, right, just to get through it as quickly as I could.
You look quick.
Wood was still slow at double speed. He still moved like a donkey, like a root of tree at double speed, right? That in itself tells you everything you know about why he should never be on the pitch again. It's just, and this again, 19 million pounds, 100k he picked up this week for 5 touches on the ball. I just, it baffles me. All right, let's move forward. Rob, Fulham Wolves.
Come on,
Rob. What are your expectations and what do you think is going to happen? Chat. What we do? Sorry, just before that, I forgot to mention the poll about the dressing room. 55% of you think he's lost the dressing room. 26% are unsure, and 19% don't think he has. So very interesting.
I don't think you should put. I don't think you should put fence or unsure in the polls. You know, make people choose.
That's called the ant option, isn't it? So
because people are just chicking out, won't they? They're just chicking out.
But the ones who are putting it on the fence, they're just kicking it down the road for 2 more games. They've all said that. We said, you know, if we don't get in the next 2 results, it's out. That's what fence it is.
If he goes and gets a win against Wolves, then he'll get another 3 or 4 games, and it just continues. It just continues.
I was going to say, can I ask you guys? The issue I have is that I feel now that it's inevitable that at some point Steve Cooper will go this season. That's the way I feel, rightly or wrongly. So all this, give him 1 more game, give him 2 more games. Let's see. It's just wasting time to me. Make a decision.
I agree.
You know.
Yeah.
But let's get back on point. Rob, what are your expectations for Wolves and Fulham Wolves? They're right around the corner.
Can I just respond to a point I saw in the chat? I am well aware that David Mitchell looks like me, right? I don't need to.
I like the way you said that, Rob. I like the way you said that.
Right, coming back to the next 2 games.
Well, can I just add to that? I've been staring thinking he reminds you of someone, Alistair Campbell.
And Stephen Fry and Gary Neville. Yeah, I know all of them, right? So
Gary Neville.
So coming back to the next 2 games, I think that Cooper has been sticking doggedly to this 4 at the back, mainly to keep people like you lot happy, and it hasn't worked. I think he's going to go 5 at the back for those 2 games. Because what's he got to lose, right? Well, he's going to approach him in the same way that he approached the Brighton game last year. He's going to go for a 0-0 in the 2 games. And and in terms of what result we get out of that, it really depends on how quickly the opposition score, right? I mean, if we manage to hold on for most of the game, then we may scrape a 0-0. If we go and repeat what we did against Fulham last year and 2 defenders get injured, then we're chasing the game. Anything could happen. But I think he's going to set up to try and get 2 points from those 2 games, and he's going to do it in the most negative way possible. Because he's under pressure, and I think we just haven't got enough firepower to go there and try and boss those games. What concerns me about that approach is I could almost settle for that if we were actually dangerous from set pieces, but we are not. I mean, if you're going to go somewhere and park the bus and try and sort of frustrate your opposition and low block them, you need to make sure that when you get that breakaway and somebody gets hacked down, or you have a ricochet and you get a corner or something, that is then where you get your goal. But we never score. I can't remember. We have not scored from a direct free kick in the last 2 years, I don't think.
Well, against Man United this season. It was accidental, wasn't it?
We have not, I mean, just remember when all the goals that Pearce and Van Hooijdonk used to score from free kicks, we never, ever, it's partly because we don't even get them, because we're not applying enough pressure. When we had Nigel Clough playing, Nigel Clough used to hold the ball up with his back to goal. He was the most fouled player in the English league. He was getting hacked down the whole time, and Pearce was just, give me another one. We were so deadly from
Alistair Campbell.
But we've not.
Campbell. How many points?
Not reading it. I'm going to read it.
How
later.
many points from the next 2 games?
1.
Right.
But
a draw and a loss.
Rob, if you're going to go into a game to play for a draw, there's no point even. There's no point.
I'm not recommending this. I was asked what I think is going to happen.
No point getting off the bus, let alone parking the bus. Just fuck off home.
I'm not advocating it. I was asked what I think is going to happen. And I think that because he knows his job's on the line, that's what he's going to do. And I think we may get a draw in one of those games and we'll lose the other one. And it probably won't be enough. Definitely if we lose those games.
2 draws would be, Rob? Do you think 2 draws would be enough?
Is that a can kicker?
Right. I think that depends on whether somebody else is lined up.
Don't Alistair Campbell the answer.
Right, okay.
But Rob,
you know how Marinakis thinks. He wants someone who is better and available, right? So
which there is.
Okay, well, who are they? Who are these people?
You want name? I mean, take your pick. You got Lopetegui.
Yeah, take your pick. Honestly, you telling me there's no managers in world football.
Just don't say Sam Allardyce, for God's sake. Right?
No,
I'll leave that to Mohammed.
That's what we'll end up with. That's what we'll end up with if we keep kicking this can down the road. That's what I'm saying. Do something now. Be proactive. Get a manager in now. Give him the rest of this month to have a look at his plays. We've got a hell of a lot of games coming up. 6 more games this in December. And that's long. Plenty of time for a manager to have a look at the players, have a look at his formations, and start thinking what he needs to do in January. But I wouldn't trust Cooper with another penny to improve this squad. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. We need somebody else. We need a fresh set of eyes on this. And again, I'll go back to a point, Rob. It seems like you're agreeing with us. You just don't want to commit to saying, because you said 1 point from the next 2 games. 1 point from the next 2 games is nowhere near good enough. And you've also said that
he said he won't keep him.
Yeah, exactly. So you anticipate that Mr. Marinakis is looking, and I believe he is as well. So
I think
accept the inevitable. Cooper's out, isn't he? Rob, is Cooper out? Is Cooper out? I'm not saying do you want Cooper out, but is Cooper out?
Well, no, because I know what you're trying to do here. What you're trying to do?
No, I'm asking you a question. A straightforward question.
I'm asking you a question.
If I agree,
the straight answer.
If I agree that it's inevitable, then your next point is why not just do it now, right? So I don't agree that it's inevitable. Okay.
But then you're lying to yourself. But then you're contradicting yourself because you said 1 point wouldn't be. Let's say he gets 1 point out of the next 2 games.
Well, he may pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Rob,
let's go with this scenario.
I'll make this easier for you. I'll give you an easier question. Would you drop Chris Wood now?
Definitely. I would not play Wood or Origi another minute.
Okay, no, Rob, let me just play out my scenario.
I'd rather have someone from the academy than those, somebody that's young and hungry, a bit of pace.
Yeah, let me play out my scenario. 1 point from the next 2 games. Is Cooper gone?
Well, I believe he might. You're missing the third option, which is he might actually resign.
No, he won't
be dragged out, he said.
Rob, he said he'd have to be dragged out on his hands and knees.
Move on.
You've got to be able to read between the lines of what he said.
You can't expect him to resign.
He's never going to resign.
Yeah. Can I make an observation?
Hang on. Other clubs have said they're interested in Cooper. So you don't know. Yeah. You're acting as if Cooper hasn't got a plan for his own career. That's probably the one plan he has got.
Yeah, that's
right. He's got an escape plan. He's got an escape plan, but resignation isn't part of that plan. No chance.
Rob has an escape plan in that hat. He's just escaped from a bank robbery.
Exactly. And let me bring you in on that, and you got a point to make.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that we often get asked this: who would you bring in? Have you got anybody? We've not got a multi-million-pound business who's has many scouts and many AI programs and people to watch things. I.e., that's their job, is to go out and find the next manager. We can't go all over the world checking on each individual manager and everything. We've not got the knowledge. We just don't know whether they're available. There's lots of reasons why we can't do that. That is up to Mr. Marinakis, the board and recruitment and whoever. It's their job to actually go out and source a new manager. The second point I would make is that when Graham Potter left Brighton, I'm not sure a lot of people had ever even heard of De Zerbi. So we can't say that there are no managers out there, because there obviously are managers out there. That's it.
And more of a relevant point to us.
Reed in the interim, you could give it to one of the coaches in the interim.
You could give it to anyone. You could give it to my man.
Stephen Reed. That guy's done fuck all for Forest. Yeah, managed one game for us. One game.
Yeah, but it was a game that changed our destiny, mate.
Exactly.
I'm just going to drop in there. I pick 1 point from the next 2 games. So you argue amongst yourself about whatever you want to argue about. I'm just getting mine in now.
It's not good enough. Though. 1 point's not good enough. One point.
No, I can't see. I can't see with the way we've played recently.
About this a few streams ago, you can't go into games thinking, oh, let's try and get a point out of it, or oh, we're not going to win. You've got to have some passion and belief that. I mean, yesterday on paper, Forest should beat Everton, especially at home. You had to go into that game and believe that you can win it. And to me, the belief didn't look like it was there.
Yeah.
And after that, it's probably even worse. But you've got to go into the next game, whoever the manager is, whatever injuries you've got to go into it and think, right, we're going to try and win this game.
But guys, this is so indicative of what we're saying. Every single Forest fan, the majority of Forest fans are going into these next 2 games against fucking Fulham and Wolves and not expecting to get any points. How shit are we? How much mediocrity have we settled for? But we're not expecting to get anything out of these 2 games. And you're going to tell me that we should stick with this manager and stick with this system. I've had enough, guys. I've said everything I need to say. And if
we wins every week and not getting them,
if a blind loyalist still can't see it, can't read between the lines of what Cooper said in his fucking self the other day, because Wolverine picked it out perfectly. Read between the lines of that press conference. He was saying basically, if you sack me, the fan base are going to turn against you, and if they do, well, fuck them, because they're not Forest fans. They're Cooper cultists, which is what I said right at the beginning. I want to break this cult up. It's a fucking cult. That's what it is. It's blindly following something.
And on top of that, I'm
despite all the evidence, it's blindly following something.
Es, you're very, very angry tonight.
I am angry because he's a prick.
It's that hat.
I've got a hat here underneath.
It's like the sorting hat from Harry Potter.
Take it off, man.
You know what?
I'm not showing you my
hat. Rob, who's been brilliant tonight. I just, when we're talking about whether we think
I'm not having a go at Rob. I'm not having a go at Rob.
I don't want to hear he brought us up. I don't want to hear where would we be without him. That's the past. We're talking about the present. It's got nothing to do with how good we were in the Championship for 1 year. Nothing to do with it. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's brilliant, by the way. So if anybody's going to come up to me with an argument as to why we should keep Steve Cooper, I would really appreciate it if they didn't mention anything to do with sentiment, what he's done for us, etc., etc. Let's stick to facts. Let's stick to football, what's happening on the pitch.
Okay, the thing with that is, for a certain period of time, he's got credit, hasn't he, after that? However bad it is.
Yes,
some people like me, the credit runs out very, very quick because I'm impatient. I got that from my mum and dad, right? I can't help it. The credit with other people is longer. And probably what you find is that the people that still want Cooper in, devout Cooper in.
There is a positive. There is a positive.
I thought, hang on, let me finish. You can honestly, please feel free, but right, the people that have the Cooper in that are more patient will actually have a longer credit in the bank, and I think that's what we see. That's fine.
Mine was last season. I gave him the whole of last season. That was it.
Yeah, but what positive?
I need positive.
No, I'm just saying we should recognise how nice it has been to have a manager that had credit in the bank, because the problem that we had is we had people like Montagnier come along. As soon as he lost a few games, okay, get the next one. Or same with even Martin O'Neill, right? Who's a club legend. He basically had zero managerial credit. Even Pearce didn't last a full season. So it's actually been a good thing, if you like, that he's had credit in the bank, because it meant that you stick with them when it goes down and they manage to pick it up again. This happened with, I remember Dougie Friedman was saying something like this with Hazawi. Dougie Friedman had a couple of near-death experiences before he was finally sacked. But, the problem, it's been the problem that you bring in managers and they get about 15, 16 games and they go, they've lost the dressing room, get the next one. And, so it's been a good thing that he had some credit in the bank. That has been a positive. It was just, okay, this may now be over. We may already be talking in the past tense, but for the past couple of years, most of the time, the club, the city, the supporters, the manager have all been singing off the same page. Now, it has turned sour. Now, I accept that, but we should also thank our lucky stars that we at least had it for a while. So that's all I'm saying about the sentiment question. I do think maybe if we lose the next games and he's watching this, he should resign, because I wouldn't want him to overstay his welcome. I don't want to remember him for being dragged out, kicking and screaming. I would rather that he actually says, do you know what? I care about this club so much, and I feel I've let you down, and I don't think I'm the right man to take it forward.
Yeah.
I'm going to Palace. You know, that's what he should say.
Agreed.
I would be more than happy for that to happen.
If he overstays his
welcome, expect a manager to resign. They get paid off. They get paid off a lot of money to be sacked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they can end it by mutual agreement.
They
can end it by mutual agreement, so you get some of his severance package. But the fact of the matter is, I agree with you, Rob. I don't want his legacy to be tarnished. And right now, game by game, his legacy is being tarnished.
Agreed.
And so the best thing for him to do, and Mr. Marinakis to do, is get together and say, look, well done for everything you've done for us so far. Well, let's end on good terms, and by mutual agreement, end his contract. That's what I would do. But I'd only do that from Marinakis' point of view. But he should be doing this already when he's got... I feel like Marinakis hasn't got somebody lined up already. Because if he did, I think he would have pulled the trigger by now. I think what he's doing is buying himself some time. I think he's got plans in mind, but I just don't think he's able to get those managers over the line at the moment. That's my thinking. I don't know any more than anybody else.
What I think is happening is, just before I answer that, the poll is how many points do you think from Fulham and Wolves game? The first answer is 0. Second one's 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. For those of you who can't see it, what I think Marinakis is doing is he's almost letting Cooper hang himself. The more defeats that come up, the more the Cooper-ins turn to at least Cooper neutral, and the less the revolt.
Yeah, but that doesn't help Marinakis, because he's still going to have to, if he sacks him then he's going to have to pay off his severance. So the better thing for Marinakis to do is have that conversation with Cooper now.
I agree.
You are going to lose your job. You know, do you want to go out on your sword, or do you want to be sacked? What do you want to do? You know, and that's the conversation I'd be having with Steve Cooper right now. But it doesn't make sense for Mr. Marinakis to be waiting and letting him hang himself, because end of the day, he's still going to have to sack him then. Maybe he's giving him an excuse to do it. But Marinakis doesn't wait for excuses. We know what he's like. He's trigger happy.
We beat Fulham 2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what? Does the credit
It just kicks the can down the road a bit further.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, there is a third option that we've not spoke about, if he turns it around. But he's literally reached the bottom of the barrel for me, yesterday. And I think for him to bounce up, he's got to do something spectacular and dig out whatever management skills he's got, and motivate those players first and foremost.
Guys, just look at our home games this season. Look at our home games and look at who we battled. The teams that we were in a relegation battle with last season and the teams that got promoted. That has been apart from the Brighton game. They've been our opponents this season. And what have we returned from that? You know, we call it Fortress City ground. It wasn't a fucking fortress yesterday. It certainly wasn't. And Ant already alluded to it. Somebody did anyway. After they scored, there was no rebel rousing from the Forest fans. We didn't get up and drown them out. We let them sing. And Rob touched on it earlier. You could hear their fans, and you could. They came to our stadium and took over our stadium. Why? Because we didn't give a shit. We knew what was happening.
I don't think it's don't give a shit, Ed. I think it's we didn't believe.
Yeah, but as soon as they scored, we felt inevitable, didn't we? We felt like that was coming.
Yeah,
that was coming, you know. And we knew we didn't have enough in the tank.
All right, boys, we are running way over schedule. Yeah, I want to try and finish on a positive, because I think we will all agree, like, if Cooper can turn it around, I'm all in for it. But I just don't feel it, and I don't see it. Okay, but let's just try and end this on a positive. I think we've all got a lot off our chests tonight, and the chat, you've definitely been getting shit off your chest tonight. How many points does it take for Cooper to survive these next 2 games, if indeed he makes it past Monday? Martin with the super chat, thank you so much, bro. 199. Love you, Martin, man. Great debate tonight. Just got back from the ice hockey. I think they lost 4-3. What were all those teddy bear things? I'm not into my ice hockey. Let's not go down that road. And Matt SB, to get him on, we haven't
had Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson.
Is that what it was for? Okay.
Okay.
Matt SB, we gotta get you back on, bro. It's been a while.
Yeah, mate.
Last 9 meetings with Fulham has had no draws. Oh god, Matt, I did not need to read that one. I did not need to read that one.
He's saying, would a draw be a bad result? Yeah, in the context of things, a draw even at Fulham would be a bad result because it's not. It's all it's doing is papering over the cracks.
Is that his limits?
The cracks
I think 2 draws will keep him in a job, though.
You think so?
I think so with Marinakis, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, to be fair, 2 draws away from home is not bad. You know what I mean?
But then it'll be 1 win in 14.
Let me go around the room. Crypto, how many points does Cooper need to stay in the job?
The next 2 games.
Yeah, if he's even there.
7.
Good answer. Yeah. Perfect.
Such a
I like it.
It's a perfect answer.
Go on, Ann. How many points?
What is the exact question? I want to make sure I understand.
How many points does Cooper need over the next 2 games to survive?
I think 2 draws would keep him in.
Okay. Rob?
He needs 2 draws. He will only get 1.
Yeah.
You heard it
Get your bet slips out, ladies and gents.
That's all right. He's going to be a grumpy old red soon. I can feel it.
It's on the way.
To the dark side, Rob.
Always welcome on
How many points?
What, to save him?
Yeah.
Like Crypto said, 7. There's nothing's going to save him these next 2 games. I'm sorry. I've had enough. I'm not going to sit on the fence anymore.
Yeah.
You know what? This is my other point. It doesn't really matter because I don't think anything's really going to improve. I'm sick of the papering over cracks, the rabbits out of the hat, or out the arse, should I say? As a fan base, we have got behind him. I go to the games. I pay my money. I don't boo them. I didn't boo them at full time yesterday either because I've said before it'd be like booing my own mum. I couldn't do it, you know. But the fact of the matter is, nothing's going to save him. So saying 7 points is probably right because it doesn't matter how many points he gets over his next 2 games. I think his time is up. I think it's just
kicking the can
it's going to happen sooner or later.
If he goes and beats Fulham and Wolves now, the happy clappers are going to be back up here. And it'll only take...
They're the ones that cause it.
No way.
I don't care where the happy clappers are. I honestly don't care because they're deluded. I've said this before, mate.
Yeah, but Marinakis won't get rid of Cooper if the majority of the fans want him there.
No, I think Marinakis is gonna show his cards soon, mate. And Marinakis isn't gonna be dictated to by Cooper, and Cooper's tried to dictate his terms with that.
Yeah, but Marinakis cares about the fans.
Marinakis isn't stupid. He's just waiting for his time.
Yeah. He's not going to show his big hairy balls.
Say again, Ant?
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean Mr. Marinakis is going to show his big hairy balls? Is that what you mean?
I've seen him for a long time.
Let me say. All right, let's
go on.
Sorry, and the hat in the comments. Ez's angry hat. I think we should change his name. He's so angry tonight. My brother's impressed with him.
All right, we are way over schedule. JQ2 says, "Why do you want Steve Cooper to resign? Who's going to take us over? Nobody is going to want us, and we're going to be relegated as a result." End of discussion.
Yeah, nobody wants to manage a Premier League team, do they?
Just to finish off with a quote from the Happy Clapping. I think that's on.
Oh, is that the manual?
Okay. Yeah, it's on page 4 here. Exactly, pretty much word for word. So I'll just reiterate the answer. We're a Premier League team. The Premier League teams are probably the 20 most sought after positions in world football, minus Barca and Real Madrid. So if you don't think managers want to come to Forest, then refer back to your manual and get your answers from there. We are way over time, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. A lot been discussed. We'll be back tomorrow as always. Come on, you Reds.
Can I just end on a really quick point? Steve Cooper, you're probably not watching this, but if you are, don't play Chris Wood next match.
Amen to that.
We all agree on that.
All right, we're done. Bye, guys.
You Reds.